Hi everyone. This is Karen for Online Healing Community. Welcome to Creating Space today. We're going to talk about becoming unapologetically you. And joining us from Australia is energy focused life coach and certified advanced spiral teacher, Sarah Suyom. Hi Sarah, welcome
Hey!
to Creating Space.
Thank you so much for having me. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, you're very clear. Thank you for being
Great.
with us. But first off, what is energy focused life coach and
Bef-
what does it mean to become a certified advanced spiral teacher?
so, just to clarify, I'm not a teacher. I wouldn't call myself a teacher. I am a practitioner. So,
Okay.
spiral is a modality, just like maybe you can compare it to Reiki with access consciousness bars, with NLP, and with energy healing, oh, Reiki, as I said, with the chakra system. So it's like a modality that has all of the best ingredients around healing and transformation, that follows a blueprint of the evolution of consciousness based on the spiral dynamics. So that's actually a very heavily researched theory that aims to explain the evolution of the psyche, the evolution of the consciousness of any living being, such as us human beings. And it's actually a very interesting theory. And it's just one of the pillars of the spiral as a modality. So, guys, if you want to look it up, like you can just YouTube spiral dynamics for dummies. It's a very mentally heavy theory to absorb, but a lot of people try to explain it in layman term. So, what does it mean to be an energy focused life coach? I've called myself many names, okay, and it's really tricky to find the best words to describe me when part of my work is delabeling myself and delabeling the self. So it's just funny that every time I'm guesting in a show or an interview, it's really the most difficult thing to answer. But it is exactly what it sounds like. I help people in different areas of their lives, but my focus in creating deep transformation through working with someone's energy. So I believe that we have a sphere of influence, and I know this is not just a belief. So we have that sphere of influence is composed of our thoughts, influencing our emotions influencing the way we show up and act in the world. So our behavior and our actions create results for us, and our results create experiences or a life story, a narrative of our life. And the narrative that we have of our life creates then the perspective or the identity that we own, our self identity. And then our self identity then creates a set of lens as a perspective, and then perspective influences thought. So it's like a circle, it's a cycle. And that is the circle of, or the sphere of influence. My goal is to expand that sphere of influence so that people can live their best life. But all of those ways of intervening, all of those levels of intervening has to do with energy. When you work with energy, you can impact all of those parts of you: mind, emotions, behavioral patterns, story, identity, perspective, all of those things. So, I am a firm believer that everything is energy. And I think you would agree. I can't hear you. Did I lose
I,
you?
I I agree that everything is energy. But how did you get into this path? Because I know you have a business in Manila, you have other things, other initiatives, other endeavors before getting into this energy work and life coaching.
Right. So my business was in Davao, not in Manila. I am not sorry, Manila.
I'm sorry.
I do
So
have clients in Manila, but
okay,
I did have clients in Manila. I do fly back and forth in different areas of the country in the past, when like pre-pandemic. But Um, uh, I feel like I'm meant to do this because I studied psychology. So I was introduced to personal development and healing very early on because my sister, who I'm very close with, also studied psychology. And so I was in, I think, still in high school or even in grade school, and I was already reading an NLP applied in therapy handbook, you know. It was like, oh, this is really fascinating. And when I went through my degree and studied psychology, none of the none of my teachers knew about NLP, which was really interesting. I think at that time it was still kind of fresh or not yet that well known, but I was already like on the quest of understanding the basics of NLP. And then I wanted to be a therapist, and then I realized that I was studying psychology that therapy wasn't going to be the path for me to help others because I am very guiltlessly a very impatient, lazy person. And that means I want really fast results. I want immediate and fast results. And I realized the approach of therapy is usually more gradual, long term, which is beautiful and but on its own really powerful, you know? It's a really good um, effective way to deal with emotional, mental, behavioral patterns, but it's just not my flavor because I want faster results. So I started getting involved with going back to NLP and even studied hypnosis, self studied hypnosis. And it was just really fun for me at that time. I felt that this work called me, even though I was already really happy with my business. I was working in the arts, and I am an artist. I still am an artist, and I felt like I was one of the luckiest, human being in the planet, being paid to do what I love doing in arts, being paid good money, being really successful at it, and being really well loved by my clients. I was like, this is my path, this is my life purpose, I'm already living it. And then I came across a modality called the spiral, and I read a book by the person who created the modality, and it felt like I wrote the book. It felt like it was speaking to my heart. And I was like, even before I went through the modality itself, even before experiencing the magic of the modality, I already knew deep down, when you get that inner knowing, when you have that gut feeling that you cannot question, aka your intuition. It just felt like, so this is what a calling feels like. And saying that before sounded really cheesy because it's like, I thought I was already doing my calling. I thought, I was meant to live the life of an artist, and a businesswoman. It's like, and it's a very different, humbling experience because it felt like I was powerless over that decision of doing and following this path. And so went to Australia to study the modality. And yeah, the rest is history. Back then, I was the only Filipino practitioner, and I made it a mission to bring it back to the Philippines because of how powerful the transformation and healing is in this modality. So, yeah, that's how I got introduced to it. It was a very interesting set of coincidences that got me to that book. And then, yes, I decided to become practitioner and bring it back to the Philippines and serve the country because I realized in that moment, like, no one else is gonna care to bring it to the Philippines. Like, there are Australian and American and UK practitioners, but like, who would care about, finding Filipino clients to serve? So, yeah, I felt the power and transformation that it's brought to my life, and I just knew that we needed it so bad. Um, Especially, and just one more thing. I know this is just the first question, but like, there's so many things I want to
It's
say.
okay. It's okay.
Especially when one of the core goal or aim when someone goes through the spiral is accelerating your scale of consciousness. Hi everyone. I'm seeing the comments now
Yes,
there.
people are joining in.
So if you guys are listening and you're familiar with Dr. Hawkins scale of consciousness, you would know that this is more like a quantitative, quantitative way of measuring emotional states and states of consciousness. And there's numerical value. It's like, having sound, the numerical values measured in decibels, or light also having that, frequency scale. So we also have an emotional or consciousness scale. And the goal of the spiral is to bring you higher into the next level of expanded consciousness. And I was like, the whole world is going to transform. The Philippines is going to get left behind. I don't want that to happen. Yeah, so that's how I got into it. It's a really interesting. It was more of a response as well when the pandemic hit, when the pandemic started. I had the skills, I had the tools. I am a licensed psychometrician in the Philippines, actually, although I didn't really practice it. I know that I'm really good at. I do a lot of like workshops even in the arts industry. My makeup workshops is more like a confidence workshop versus an actual makeup workshop. So I know that I can help people, and so I started create gathering friends together and created a group, and it just snowballed from there. And now it's a community of people who are continuously striving to work to bettering themselves. And my intention in this whole path is to make mindfulness mainstream and make personal development a lifestyle instead of just a luxury or a weekend thing that you go to on a workshop or on a retreat and then you go back to your old self without any actual life difference or behavioral mental difference, without any actual breakthrough that's integrated in your day to day. So I want it to be a lifestyle, and I wanted mindfulness to be mainstream, that it's actual as common as breathing, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I
That's
hope that kind of
beautiful.
like summarized a
Yeah,
lot.
that's very clear. And I heard the word transformation from you several times. And it's something that you're
Mm,
passionate about. You talk about
yeah.
transformation of the Philippines, transformation of the world.
Yes.
But how about what's your most profound personal experience in terms of transformation?
Most profound personal transformation. I hope you forgive me for looking down. It's just like I'm having like I did a live and they're asking for the people
For
are
the
messaging
link,
me asking for the live for this link. So I'm just sending it to them. Um,
right, it's fine.
so um, mm, that's a really tough question to answer because I don't know how many times I have had what I would call ego deaths of literally allowing my old self and identity to die and be reborn with fewer attachments and fewer labels and fewer limitations. But I know that one of my core life theme that I am continuing to work with, that I know will be with me for a long time, and I will continue to overcome and experience deeper levels of healing with, would be people pleasing. People pleasing. And I know the root of my people pleasing story. It's rooted from my wound of abandonment when I was a child. And that experience of being abandoned when I was young created a story for me that I needed to make everyone happy so that they don't leave me. It created a story that I was responsible for other people's happiness or satisfaction. And so I needed to always improve myself or prove my worth or take care of other people so that I don't get hurt again. And as you probably can resonate,
Yeah, I'm a people pleaser.
that
I'm a
has
recovering people pleaser too.
exactly hashtag recovering people pleaser. So
Yeah.
if you can imagine that desire of pleasing others, uh, have had a major impact around how I presented myself. I have worn the nice girl mask, jacket, bag suit, everything, right? The overalls, the skin suit of being the nice girl and wanting to please everyone and wanting to be seen as either the smartest person in the room or the nicest person in the room, the most presentable, the most helpful, whatever, right? I needed to feel significant and needed so that I don't get abandoned. And when I realized and saw the patterns in my relationships and my experiences, I knew that there was something there for me to learn. When there were continuous experiences around betrayal from relationships and even friendships or even familial relationships, I realized I was giving myself, compromising myself and my own emotional safety and my own um, just overall well-being, even my own financial security for the sake of being accepted by others, for the sake of pleasing others. And so this is a bit of a sensitive topic because in our culture, we are taught to be selfless. We are taught to forget ourselves in service to others. And don't get me wrong, I highly appreciate that. But I also know that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And for me, in my own personal experience, I know that every time I have overgiven and I have allowed my cup to run empty, I burn myself out and I start getting or experience, I start experiencing resentment, and then it stops coming from unconditional love. It starts becoming fueled by fear even more. And so when I realized that something has to shift because things are going haywire. So I'm getting hurt over and over again, and I'm being taken advantage of. When I say taken advantage of, like legit, like actual people stealing money from me, like straight to my face, or like just boundaries being crossed everywhere or in any way possible, in the worst ways possible. I was just like, okay, something is really wrong in here. I am letting this happen to myself. And I got a little bit obsessed in, just understanding what the root cause of that is. And then another experience that helped me realize that my behavior, although can be seen as a good thing, sometimes felt really awful inside. Like, for example, I love doing charitable um, activities, volunteering my time, and doing all sorts of, nice things. There would be times when they would feel amazing and fulfilling, and I would feel so, my soul will feel so nourished after doing that charitable thing or that nice thing. And there would be times where it would feel draining instead. And the difference is that the other set is coming from love, the set of behavior. The other set of behavior is coming from fear or a desire to please others. So, yeah, started working on that. And I'm like, yep, right now, I'm like, that's why our topic is this. I'm like, sorry, like, this is me. Like, all of this, I'm an open book. And like, there's nothing to hide, there's nothing to be ashamed about. I freaking love and accept myself and have so much compassion for myself and have given up my identity around being perfect or um even just being called like a mentor or a coach or a guru. Sometimes it's like, no, I'm a human being just like you, and I'm a student of life just like you, but I'm happy to help in whatever way I can,
Right.
yeah.
Ali
Yeah.
saying that she can relate with you, and personally, I can relate with you. I feel a lot of people can relate with you. The thing with people pleasers I see is that they take care of everybody else. If like beef, and then, well, I'm talking from experience too. And then you put yourself last, and I agree with you. When you do that, yeah, you can burn out. But I
Yes,
love how you
and
take responsibility. Like you
oh
told
yeah.
earlier, you said I'm doing this to myself. So it's not even the fault of the person who took advantage of you, who got money from you, or who didn't have a good relationship with you. You took responsibility. It's my fault. That's what you said.
Yeah,
That's what you're saying.
absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes this is another controversial belief that I hold so dearly. Um, it's difficult for others to accept responsibility because they think that they're not in control of the things that happen to them. But it's the refusal to believe that you are in control that makes it difficult to take charge of your life and create changes in your life and create better results in your life or achieve a different level of success in your life. And sometimes, when it's really, 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 if it's close to impossible to see how you could possibly have created a life that is miserable, just understand that whatever is happening in this human life, your soul is expanding from it. Your soul is growing from it. So even when your human self, is in denial that that it is in control, maybe that's true. Maybe the human self really is not in control, but definitely your higher self and your divine inner being knows exactly what it's doing, knows exactly what you need in any given moment, the perfect mix of experience for you to give or have exactly the perfect lesson in that moment for whatever other journey you're about to embark on in the future, So, yeah, it's if you look at it in that way, and that extends to other people too. I just want to like inject this. It's a little bit out of topic, but I remember a conversation with a client where she's having a really hard time accepting a decision by a loved one because she cares for the loved one. And I have permission to share this one because she encouraged me to share this story because it helps other people. Um, uh, her family, one of her family member is making, in her perception, a stupid decision that can endanger, her life. And so she's like, as a family member, you can get angry with that family member out of concern and out of love, right? And it's really tricky to come from love, understanding, and compassion, and to not try to control the other person because you think you know what's best for them. But to be honest, it is quite arrogant. And this is again my perspective. It is arrogant for anyone to ever think that you know what's best for another human being. Because even when you cannot accept their decision on a human level, on the macro scale of things, it's all perfect, including the failures, the mistakes, including the risks that people take. It's all perfect because their soul and the divine in that person knows exactly what they're doing.
And I
Can you
was
see how
looking
that's a
back.
little bit controversial?
Yes, yes. Especially here in the Philippines, like they feel like if you're an elder, they feel that they can give you advice even if it's unsolicited, or they always other people. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel that other people always has a say in your life,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
there are
Yeah.
sometimes no boundaries, and it's up to you to actually put up that boundary.
Boundary, 100%. And again, um, because I believe in the perfection of everything, there is a beauty to having elders and the wisdom that is gained only by experience and only by tradition that we can all benefit from. But it is when you impose that belief instead of giving it openly, with also being open to your ideas being rejected. It is when it is shared with pride and arrogance and an illusion that your answer is the only right answer, that it crosses that line for me.
Right. It's when it,
Because yeah, we are, after all, social beings, and we are meant, the advancement in our society, the advancement in our species is achieved because we can communicate wisdom and learnings and teach others. So there is beauty in that, there is sacredness in that transmission. But again, it is when you refuse to give that person the honor of following their willpower or honoring their sovereignty, that crosses the line. Yeah.
right. So I was just curious, what happened to your patient? Did she continue the session or
Ah,
did she stop?
oh, yeah. My client, we're super amazingly best friends. Like, of course, that was one of her sessions. She eventually realized that she can be angry, and that it's okay to feel angry because it's coming from concern and love. And she understood that her emotions, any emotions, including anger, is still rooted from love. And the only reason she was angry is because she was trying her best to, she was using what she knew could provoke an emotional response as well that can potentially have some sort of like power, you know. Anger is a powerful emotion, but she understood that the real root cause of that anger was still love. And so the secret that I shared with her on that session is that you can come from love, and you can accept and validate your anger because it's okay to feel whatever emotions you're feeling, but you have to let go of the sense of control. You can, it is your responsibility to communicate where you're coming from and to communicate the wisdom that you think you have that can help another being, whether it's a friend or a family member. But it is not your life. And no one else should be in control of their lives apart from themselves. And of course, obviously, I'm talking about adults here, not 5 year
Right.
olds, 7 year olds, okay? I think that's pretty obvious, but sometimes the internet can be crazy and can be things can be taken out of context. So I just thought that I should highlight that.
Right, right. On another note, today we're going to talk about being unapologetically you. And you did mention that there was a time when you would like bend to others' wishes. So what does it mean? What does it mean to be unapologetically you? And also for your like for the anecdote with your client, she did stand to her truth. And in a way, also she was unapologetically herself
Mm.
in that story.
So what's coming to me when you ask that is the ways where being unapologetically you can be misconstrued or can be mm, misused, you know? Hi. Hi, Zai. So, being unapologetically you is not an excuse to be rude, be harsh in your words, to not be compassionate, or to not attempt to understand other people. It has nothing to do with disconnecting from others. It has nothing to do with fully. My device is saying it's low battery. Can you just yes.
It's okay. Hi everyone. We're talking about becoming unapologetically you with Sarah Suyom. She's an energy
Very cool.
focused life coach and a certified advanced spiral practitioner. So if you have questions for Sarah, or if you have comments regarding this discussion, please feel free to chat and comment
Yeah.
on the chat box. So you were
So it,
saying, Sarah,
as I was saying, sorry, yeah. So it
it's
has
fine.
nothing to do with thinking that you're right all the time or that you should not be checking in with yourself or listening to other people's feedback. Being unapologetically you is first a journey of knowing who you even are. You cannot be unapologetically you if you don't even know who you are. And I'll give you a clue. You're not your job experience. You're not your medals in school. You're not your achievements. You're also not your mistakes. You're not your gender. You're not your family role. You're not your you're not any labels that you attach to yourself. If you really truly know who you are, you will realize how unique, magical, divine, and amazing and beautiful and powerful you really are. And so, therefore, there's nothing to apologize for if you own that. If you own your magical, unique essence, there is nothing to apologize about. So, being unapologetically you is knowing your truth and loving who you really are. And the thing is, you're also human and you're not all rainbows and sunshines. You will have imperfections. You will have times where you just want to burn the world and just live in a cave and just forget every other human being. Sometimes when my introvert side kicks in, I'll be like hiding under a cover and I'll be like, I don't want to talk to anyone. And still being okay with those parts of you. Becoming unapologetic about who you are is embracing all of the other parts that you've learned to disregard or disintegrate or denied as part of yourselves. And this is a very natural thing that everyone learns to do because, and I've said this as well in the live that I was doing in my community earlier. When if you have had an upbringing that is similar to mine, where the form of discipline is rewards and punishment, we learn to set conditions and standards to the love that we give to ourselves, right? That if you do this, yes, you receive love. If you act this way, love is taken away. So we learn being conditional with our love and appreciation for ourselves. And so the parts of us that have been punished or judged, it forms our shadow because we deny that that's us. We stop or we try. We don't actually stop. We try to push that side down. And then we stop looking at it and it becomes part of our shadows. So being unapologetically is not just knowing all this magical, divine version of you, but also all the parts that you've stopped looking at. All the all even your ego, the things that you would feel ashamed about admitting, addictions you may have had, sins you may have committed, um, failures you've had, like whatever it is that you're ashamed, to admit that is part of who you are. Embracing that is part of becoming unapologetically you.
I
And
think,
the secret
yeah,
is to warts and all,
yeah,
yes, amen.
yeah. I think that's the that's a summary for what you're saying. Zai saying yes, be warts and all. So not just the
Beautiful
beautiful
summary,
side,
right?
right? Even
Yeah,
the dark.
stretch marks and all. Yeah. I want to add something to that real quick.
Yes.
If you're feeling a little bit lost on where to start, like how do I do that? How do I blah blah blah? Start with a very simple process. Every time you catch yourself judging yourself, release the judgment, let it go. Release the idea of perfection, release the idea of right and wrong, or the should and shouldn'ts about yourself, because these are all just stories that would fit or not fit the identity that you hold about yourself. So if you let go of all these attachments and all these judgments, it's going to be a lot easier to rediscover who you really are and just be in allowing, in a space of acceptance and allowing and free of judgment.
Release the
And
judgment.
mm, yeah, yeah.
How do you do that? How do you release the judgment?
Are you talking about an actual exercise or like just a more of a rhetoric? Like, how do you
Like,
actually release
because
the judgment?
sometimes when you, well, I hear this from people. Oh, I did this workshop with some people. Well, I asked them to like look at their face in the mirror, and I asked them, what do they see? and 70% of the people will not give a good answer. They will show you that, oh, I have a pimple, or oh, an, I'm not confident. 70%, I've done this with a lot of people, but 70% of the audience would usually look at, would judge themselves
Yeah.
given that
Hmm.
simple activity.
Yeah.
It's the
100%.
first,
Yeah.
it's
I
the first reaction.
even
So
if
how
I
do
sorry, go ahead.
sorry. So
There's a bit of
how
lag, sorry.
Yeah. So how do we release that? Like, because and that's also what science says. 7% of our thinking is actually negative because we
Yeah,
tend to
correct.
judge.
Mm-hmm. It's a repeating cycle. It's a loop of negativity that just chatter of going back and forth on a loop. It's funny that you shared that because I remember doing a talk for a makeup brand in the Philippines. They have invited me to conduct a workshop and teach about makeup, and I did that activity too. Gave them a mirror. It's like, okay, now just like write down everything that you noticed, and same thing. 70-80% of them talked about everything that is a flaw about who they are. So I second that based on experience myself. So how do we do that? hmm. How do we stop judging ourselves? It came to me in so many different ways. And if you are looking for an actual like exercise you can start doing, there's a
Or
statement that I love doing that comes with EFT.
mhm,
If you're familiar with EFT, it's emotional freedom technique
freedom
and
technique.
there's tapping
Yes.
involved. And so how about we all do that? If you guys are listening, let's all jump in and just like throw in all of our self-judgment, and start tapping on the points. Let's start with here, this one on the side of the hands, and just say, even though, and I'm gonna lead,
Okay.
and I'll make this a real, actual life example. One of the things that I judge about myself because I was and I still am a makeup artist is, when I have breakouts, have very sensitive skin. So I would say even though, and then you identify the judgment. So for me, even though I have 10 pimples right now on my face, and you're tapping while you're saying that, and then you say, I can still unconditionally accept myself. It's a very simple clearing statement while tapping, and then you move to different points. And so I want you to take a lead and like tell us about something that you judge within yourself. So this point is between the brow and this nose bridge. So that point intersection. Yeah, do you see that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what would
So,
be something that you judge about yourself?
um, even though I'm not consistent with some things, or yeah, I break some promises to myself, I still love. Is it I still love myself.
Accept. I
I
can
still accept.
still unconditionally accept myself.
Okay, I can still unconditionally accept
Accept.
myself.
Great job. Okay, and I'll do a bit of intuitive statements for some of our audience that I know is like common and people can relate to. So let's do this other point here. So ideally, when you're doing tapping, you're doing at least minimum of 5 points. So we've done that, and then here, my phone is not. Oh, sorry. I plugged in my device, but then the other end isn't plugged in. So
Okay, so I think for the others, can you please share with us your judgment statements? That would be nice, and we can use that
yeah,
for the tapping.
yeah, yeah, that would
Like
be
even
amazing. And then
though
this,
I'm like this,
even
I
though.
still yeah.
So even though my waistline is no longer 24, I can still unconditionally accept myself.
Oh, nice.
Or what else? Even though sometimes I feel myself judging others or hating others, I can still accept myself. I can still unconditionally
Oh,
accept myself.
yes. That's nice.
Even though I procrastinate on some of my projects, I can still unconditionally accept myself. So this is a very simple practical exercise, and EFT has so many studies backing its validity in its ability to reduce stress, release emotional, energetic blocks in the body. um, there's actual measurable difference in the chemistry of the body after tapping. So I just want to add a just be a bit more technical in here. So those points, it's important that you hit the right point. So I'm just going to emphasize them. It's right here, and then it's going to be the side of the eyes right here. You know, the eyeball socket, like right there, and then it's still the eyeball socket right here, and minimum of at least 7 taps. You don't have to count them, but at least make sure that there's
Second.
that wave, that frequency, that vibration of that. It's a very calming um, process for the nervous system to go through. These points are, also the same points that we do in the modality that I use in the spiral, where we make use of kinesiology and acupressure points from Chinese medicine. So these points are, and even intuitively, people do that. We do this, right?
Right.
We do that when we think. It's our
Yes.
body knows these points. Another important point that is really helpful is below the collarbone right here, tapping that. And if anyone is commenting their
They're
judgments,
they're not yet writing down their
they're not,
judgment. Yeah.
that's okay.
But
So
so what I'm getting from this
that's okay.
conversation is becoming unapologetically means accepting everything about you. Like you said, your light
Hmm.
and your
Hmm.
shadows.
Yeah, 100%. And coming from a place of love when you're wanting to improve on yourself, not coming from a place of judgment or hatred or running away from your old you. Instead, a desire to allow your true self, your essence of love to come up without all the additional programmed conditioning and illusion and beliefs, false beliefs about yourself, your limitations, and all
You
those
wrote
things.
about this, and I love this line specifically when you said everyone deserves the real you, not the filtered version of you. And you serve others better when you show up in the world with your authenticity fully and lovingly expressed.
Did I
That's
write that? Oh, I sound so
you
good.
did, and it's
Yeah,
so
I
beautiful.
feel, thank you. I feel like when I write, it's not actually from here, it's more from the heart, and it's really more intuitive. Even when I am asked questions, oftentimes I don't actually think about the answer. I don't even remember the answers, and I listen to my videos. It's like, oh, that's really smart. So thank you for bringing that up. It's very relevant to, yeah, to our conversation. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
and
true.
people are answering na. You're are you saying I am not my past mistakes? Jeanette is saying even though my memory is not as good as others, I still unconditionally love myself.
There you go. Nice.
And she's also
Beautiful.
saying that this is that's her takeaway. You are not the labels that you attach to your name. And this is what you said at the start of the conversation. Your journey is actually remove the labels.
Mm-hmm. 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 Interestingly, it is, um, it's a bit ironic. I think our life is full of paradoxes, Um, in order for us to know who we are, we need to know who we are not. Because life is experienced in contrast. And to know who you really are, you first go through this kind of like indoctrination in this planet, and you start, like, when I was, honestly, and it's funny that I remember this now. I've not actually gotten in touch with this uh, set of thoughts until now, until recently, but it was when I was really young, and we were being taught that you are a Filipino, you are a Christian, you're Malay, you're born here, we're given all of these labels, and all I could see and all I could remember as a child was like, why is this important? Why do I need to know that I'm different and he's different and he's not me or she's not me? Like, as a child, my innocent childlike self, in that, not childlike, I was a child, was feeling the sense of separation. And that separation is really hurtful, you know, because I know for a fact that we are all connected. I know for a fact that we are all one. So that sense of separation was for me just a labeling, and it wasn't. Yes, it has its purpose. Yes, I understand that. But when you get stuck in it, when you get stuck in the othering and the labeling and the differences and the separation, it prevents us from evolving even more in our species, in whatever is next in our life here in the planet as human beings. Yeah.
I
So
because the labels in a way
yeah.
box us. That's what I think.
Mm,
And Stacy agrees with you on
mm,
removing the labels.
yeah.
And
Mm,
yeah, this weekend, you have a class because I love this statement from your FB. There's a statement that said there, and you said, "I help people take the leap towards their divine right of an abundant living and a fulfilling life." And basing from what you said, like we're all one, we're all the same. We have that much, but we have really a lot of potential, and sometimes we just don't use it or acknowledge it.
or
And
we're just not aware of it, when most of your life is spent hearing what's not possible, and hearing why you don't deserve things, or hearing why things are not happening for you, you start losing faith in what is possible. And it's just really powerful when you start listening and opening your mind and heart to other people who believe in you, sometimes believe in you more than you do yourself. I remember that when I was in high school, and I was suffering through a lot of like insecurities and feeling like I don't belong because I always transfer schools. And I have a friend who believes in me a lot. And um, I don't know if this is ever going to get to him, but I call him Kuya Bear. Her name is Bernard. And I felt how much he believed in me. He saw potential in me. And that moment was really powerful because I felt how empowering it is to have someone believe in you. And when I work with clients, that is a secret that I have, that I hold so dearly. When you hold someone in your perspective and see them in their highest potential, in their best versions, no matter what victim stories they tell themselves, no matter what suffering they go through in that moment, it's a lot easier for them to see the other side, to see their true power, because someone else is already seeing them in that light and bringing them out. And this is the same um, principle I apply even in my past business as a makeup artist. When people come to me with all of their insecurities, all of their flaws, all of their problems in their faces, and I look at them, it's like, no, actually, I already see you as someone's like really beautiful. And like, I look at one person, I see the best look they can have. And so it's so easy for me to do the makeup because there is nothing to be ashamed about or to hide. And it's so easy to bring out the real beauty that I see in them. So it's the same principle, you know? Yeah, I don't
so
know
you
how we
can
got
see
there.
where I was thinking, so you can see their best version already, even without the makeup,
Correct.
even prior the session, even before the
Yeah.
session.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in a way, it's easier. You're lifting them up with that vision that you have for them.
Mm-hmm,
How it
mm-hmm.
feels
Yes.
like.
If anyone is gonna understand or is into a little bit of quantum physics and a little bit nerdy, you will get this type of explanation. But I am actually a little bit of a geek. I like science and spirituality, and I like finding the spot that they meet. So in physics, when there are different wavelengths, because we're all energy, right? We're all energy, and so if your energy, you vibrate on a certain wavelength or frequency, right? Just like a radio frequency would have different frequencies, or light would have different light spectrum. We're all in waves and frequencies. So when we have an emotional state or frequency that we're vibrating in, In physics, there's a process called entrainment when there's two waves that meet. Entrainment comes underneath interference. Okay, wavelengths would interfere with each other, and there are two ways that it can turn out. It can amplify, the wave can amplify each other, or it can destruct. This is destroy. It can cancel out each other, and entrainment is another response where the stronger frequency will lock in the weaker frequency into its frequency. So, in musical language, like if you have, for example, a strong note of G note, and then you have other notes playing, and the instruments are in one room, the loudest sound will then entrain all the other sounds. So, because we are all energy and frequencies, there's always entrainment going on. So, when you're unapologetically you, which means when you love yourself and you see your own divinity, and you're able to look someone in the eye and welcome them and inspire them to also be unapologetic about who they are, and your wavelength and frequencies is strong, they will feel that, and they will be inspired and lit up, and also be willing to show their true selves. And sometimes a session is as easy as that, just holding someone in that frequency and letting them be entrained as you see them in their highest, purest form. Yeah.
Right. That's why it's also important to have mentors and coaches because,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they lift you up and you get entrained, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of mentorship and coaching, you have a workshop this weekend. Can you tell us more about this?
Thank you. This is flashing there. Great. So
Yes.
on Sunday,
And I is
um,
flashing it on the
hi,
Facebook
Ayi,
comment
thank you.
page.
So on Sunday, I'm doing for my community, but obviously everyone's welcome. A workshop. It's a values alignment and a life design workshop, and the it's very relevant to our topic as well. As I've said, if you don't know who you are, you how can you be unapologetically you? And a lot of people, surprisingly, don't even know their core values and don't know the motivation behind their actions. Or oftentimes they would find internal conflicts or procrastinate about projects or self-sabotage. And most of the time, it's out of alignment, or it's coming from disalignment from their core values. So this, I think, when I started preparing this work, it's been out in the public since last year. um, I have declared that this is potentially one of the biggest gifts I can give to the planet. So I have done this a couple of times, and people who go through it always and always enjoy, and some people even do it twice or thrice, and because values can evolve and change, and going through the workshop again, even if you've done it in the past or a different version of aligning values or understanding your values, I can almost guarantee that this is going to be a different experience, and that you're going to take something away from this workshop. So yeah, it's going to be on Sunday, 2 p.m. Australia time, which is 12 noon Philippines time, and 9 p.m. CST PDT time in the US. So yeah, if you're interested, go to the link.
There's a
It's
link
right there.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
And how can they reach you on Facebook and Instagram?
So in Facebook, I have a page. The page is called Becoming Triggerless. There you go. The name is Becoming Triggerless. Um, I love the phrase becoming triggerless is a superpower, because when you're not triggered by things happening around you, you can keep your peace. You're responsible for your peace, and you don't have buttons that people can push. So you're less prone to manipulation or whatever. So becoming triggerless is a cute little tagline that became a brand when I started writing more about emotional mastery and healing and all this personal work that I do. So yeah, that's the official page that I have. Also, my personal account. in Instagram, and those two are the ones that I have. I also have a website, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You can just message me. I actually have
You have a community.
a link. Yeah, I have a community. I have a Facebook group, and it's a very active community as well. It's very similar to the intentions of the online healing community, which is providing a community space for people to continue healing work, personal development work, and just anything that can help improve their lives, basically. And there's a bunch of amazing people there as well. So sarahsuyom.com/community is the Facebook group. I am also actually launching an app that has all of my online courses and things that I do. So that's also upcoming. So if you want to know more about that, be part of any of my network, and you'll probably get the announcement somewhere. Yeah.
And what do you call this? We'll just read some of the comments that we haven't read earlier. Jeanette is saying, I couldn't agree more with Miss Sarah about labels or lines that separates people from accepting ourselves or others. And Sai, PU, warts and all. How about the others? What's your takeaway from this discussion? Manggagawang PWD saying, mapayapang gabi po sa ating lahat. Salamat sa pagtuturo sa amin. But I
Thank
love
you
how
for
you made
being
it
here.
very I love how you made it very simple. Being unapologetically you is really accepting everything about you. But first, you mentioned that first you have to know who you are, what's your truth. And sometimes one of the ways to know your truth is to know who you're not or what you don't stand for. Yeah. And when, yeah. And just allow people to see the real you because not being who you really are is also a disservice to others.
100%. I love that line a lot. I'm really glad that you brought that up. When you're rubbing people off the real experience of your truth and your uniqueness, and there's no one else like you. So it is a disservice to you and to others when you're not being truthful. It also teaches other people to not be truthful. So yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mm,
final words for everybody watching and listening, Sarah.
mm. You are already perfect the way you are. Mm.
Ah,
That's
that's
it. That's
nice. So please remember that you are already perfect the way you are. And you can catch Sarah's workshop. The links are on the Facebook comment page this weekend. And also Thursday classes. That's always for the community. You can look at the event page. And June has a meditation class at 8:30 p.m. You can also join that. Okay. And Francis is saying, thank you, Miss Sarah. I hope ma-translate ko ito sa level ng mga parents ng aming mga mag-aaral. And sana pati sa mga bata. Salamat po. I think
mm.
Francis is a teacher.
Yeah, yeah. In
Eh,
my community, I have someone who is also an educator, and she always, always, always like reshares, the things that we do in the community, and it's part of my goal. Actually, I've seen a vision of myself work with the educational system of the Philippines. I don't know if that's ever gonna come true. Hopefully, it will, but it is really close to my heart to make mindfulness and personal development an actual priority, and start the education early around our mental, emotional, energetic, spiritual health, and not just the physical health. And there's something that I wanted to say around yung sabi mo last words ko. Just want to add
yeah,
something. You're already perfect the way you are. You are a masterpiece, and also you are a work in progress, and both are perfect.
yeah, you are a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a quote I also saw
Yeah,
earlier.
it's so nice. Mm.
It's beautiful. Francis is saying, I'm a public school teacher po. Hopefully soon, some of us and Sarah can also do programs in the school. Stacy's saying,
Yes.
thank you. I is saying, you have your own unique role to play in the bigger scheme of things. That's why it's
Mm.
important to be. So thank you so much for being you, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. And Sarah, yeah, we'll end with this. You are a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining us. And I'll just end with
Thank you
a
so much.
and hope to see you soon. We can work. I hope we can work together soon. We'll
I'm
just
sure.
end with this video because I forgot to play it because of this conversation. So we'll just end there, and we'll see you soon, everyone. Bye. Thank you, Sarah.
Bye. Thank you
Bye.
guys for
So we
joining.
can just help people stay calm and spread calm at this time. And if we can just really lighten the load of everybody, and lalo na with the social distancing that's being done, we kind of feel alone. Even now, we're still on lockdown. And I just want people to know that, guys, you're not alone. Kaya natin to. Together, we can do this. That's why we have programs every Tuesday. Every Thursday, there's a class or a workshop which is free to the community so everybody can come together. Here are our programs on personal growth and healing for you.